So I'm Neve and this is Ashley, and we're going to be presenting our efficient frontier and the changes that we've made to the Cougar student managed hedge fund. This is our table of contents. So first we'll start with the current portfolio allocations. So obviously we all know BIL is 23%, AGG is 17%, SPY is 15%, VGT 18%, DBC 6%, URA 5%, LQD is 7%, and then EEM is 9%.
So these are our current student hedge fund returns. So currently you could see our STAR balance is at 40,000. And our end balance is only 73,000, which can be increased.
And it kind of has the same, as you can see here, the worst years. They remain the same, but the best year increases to 21.46%. Portfolio 1 is the one here at the bottom. Portfolio 2, which is the removal of EEM, is the red line here. And then portfolio 3 is the one where we removed EEM but replaced it with ICLN. And as you can see, the ending portfolio growth is a lot greater than portfolio 1. So we got it to reach 111,000 ending balance with.
When you distinctly that speak your name first.
Okay, so this is our mock student managed hedge fund and efficient frontier analysis. I'm Greg.
My name's Shane.
Jennifer.
And there's also Brian, but for Brian's slide, Shane is going to go over them. This is our table of contents. So Shane is actually going to go over the process of how we did our analysis. I'll go over our current portfolio allocation. Shane will go over the adjusted weights for the portfolio allocation, as well as including ICLN as an ETF. Jennifer will go over the inclusion of SUSA ETF with the portfolio, and then I'll give the final recommendation.
So for our process, we're going to start with cash rebalancing semi-annually with a starting capital of $40,000. We're going to do a visual analysis, so an allocation chart and portfolio growth, and then interpret the Sharpe ratio, so excess returns, and Sortino ratio, which is our expected returns. Then we'll move into market correlation analysis and standard deviation to get a gauge on volatility. And finally, do risk analysis, recognizing the maximum drawdowns. We want to talk about annual returns and then ESG compliance with the ETFs. And then we'll have our efficient frontier analysis and compare it to two different portfolios, 2017 to 2022, the David Swenson lazy portfolio and the fund advice buy-in. Frontier, it's highly overall, just it is stronger portfolio. So as you can see here, our portfolio is the blue line, David Swenson is red, and the fund buy is yellow. They were run.
All right, I'll do it.
Oh, okay.
This is our group project. I'm Mike Kazanecki.
I'm Ashley.
I'm Edgar. I'm here. Table of contents.
For our current portfolio allocations, we had Bill at 23, SPY at 17, BBC at 6%, LQD at 7%, AGG.
Decided to allocate less money towards it. And then following the logic of high risk equals high return, we decided to allocate more money towards SPY and DBC specifically because they were the ones that had a high risk while still allowing room for more return.
And Microsoft stocks. So this portfolio is basically almost 15% Apple and Microsoft specifically, which we feel is just not diversified enough at all. So a couple solutions to this is the ETF DGS, which is small cap emerging market ETF. It allows us to globally diversify the portfolio a lot more, and also helps us decrease our allocation VGT and SPY, so we have less Apple and Microsoft stocks specifically. This is ESG compliant. It has no tobacco, alcohol, or any of those kind of stocks. And it also screens for the company's diversification, which I thought was very interesting. Replace E.
All right, so this is Alex's slide. I'm gonna be playing. I'm gonna be playing her audio so you guys can hear what she has to say about her analysis of the current weight.
So this is our portfolio analysis with the current weights that were given. First, BIL was given 23%, EEN 9%, AGG 17%, SPY 15%, VGT 18%, DBC 6%, URA 5%, LQD 7%.
Did you see them, or do you want?
So maybe I can spend a few minutes making some observations or asking some questions, and then we can leave a couple of minutes at the end in case the students want to ask me any questions.
Yeah, you should be fine, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I saw, so first of all, great job, everybody. Really some interesting work. And if you guys don't realize it, it's kind of a lucky thing that you're able to do this kind of academic work, but also have a practitioner's approach to an actual pile of money that your work and analysis is going to help influence how it's invested. That's not an opportunity that a lot of undergraduates anywhere have. So it's a great thing that Professor Hawk is kind of put together over the past several years that you guys get the benefit from, and students will in future years as well. There was one of kind of the benchmark portfolios that was reflected on a few slides was called something like David Swenson's lazy portfolio. Does everybody know who David Swenson was?
Yes, they're nodding. I mean, it's not showing up.
Everybody's raising their hands. Okay, it's hard for me to see the whole classroom. David Swenson ran a Yale endowment portfolio for many decades, published a lot of books, and was kind of the pioneer of the endowment model of investing, which is essentially outsource investing to expert third parties, invest across all parts of the globe, so regional, non-specific, invest in a variety of asset classes, and make great use of alternative or diversifying investments as a part of the total portfolio. So he is somebody, if you've heard his name or aren't quite sure what he did and how he changed the investment landscape for roughly 30 years up until a couple of years ago when he passed, you would do yourself a good service to learn more about him, especially if you are thinking about going into the world of investing or financial planning or finance as a career choice. Is both backward looking and forward looking. And what I mean by that is a lot of the analysis, a lot of the efficient frontier work, a lot of the what.
The presenters also suggested instead of, I mean, many of them are concerned about EEM, and then they also have taken your comments earlier that, well, exposure is necessary because it will be US centric, but they are coming up. But one of them even suggested that, well, there is a play that we can do with short or a small cap emerging markets. What is it, Mike?
DGS.
DGS. What do you think?
I like it, especially over the long term. So you're not only keeping the emerging exposure, but you're taking the small cap portion, which over time should grow even faster. Okay. But you have to understand there's a lot of volatility in that kind of exposure. And so you don't want to do more than 3 to 5% of the total portfolio there. I would take that 3 to 5% if you decide to do that from EEM, and then maybe just keep another 2 or 3% in EEM. I'm just kind of using round numbers.
But he has moved on higher up. He is the second to the chief investment officer. And so he has extensive background and in managing hedge funds and others. So, John, is it okay that they can link with you in LinkedIn?
Absolutely. Reach out to me. You should be able to find me. And if you're on LinkedIn to connect that way, and then I'm happy to answer questions one-on-one or in a bigger group setting whenever you guys might have them, whether it's about this portfolio or what you might want to do in your career going forward or graduate school or anything like that. I'm happy to try to help and be a resource.
All right. Any parting questions? Yeah. We see a couple of hands here, John.
Okay.
Okay, my first question is, with the things going on in the world today, have investors seen this before and how did they react to it?
Anything in particular or just in general?
Yeah, for example, like the inflation and interest rate going up, and also the global crisis going on around the world.
The answer is yes. We have seen these things before. They don't always happen in the right degrees at the same exact time. But you'd be foolish not to be thinking about how we handled inflation in the 70s and try to learn from that. And then from a geopolitical development, you have this war in Ukraine going on where Russia's invaded Ukraine and what impact that's having on things like oil prices and, thank you, things like that. So the exact confluence of events probably is somewhat unique, but generally speaking, we have had to deal with global inflation. We've had to deal with geopolitical events and wars in the past. And so you try to take some lessons from the past, apply them to now, and then understand how these things are a little bit different. For example, we've just come through a pandemic, the likes of which we have not seen in many, many decades. Okay, so that's kind of a unique aspect to this. We've had central banks which have become more and more influential on risky asset pricing. Okay, that's not just in the US, but that's abroad as well. What kind of influence is that having? So there are lessons we can learn from the past, but we always have to make sure that we understand that this time can be a little bit different. It's not completely different, but there are some similarities and some differences, and that's the challenge, is trying to understand how to put that all together.